What's going on, guys? This is another episode of Noiz.I Talks with friends. You are episode 19, so this has been going on for a long time. If you are new to the channel, like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been a very great journey, just kind of getting better with production and the questions and the interviewees. So I appreciate everyone who comes on. I appreciate everyone who supports. Thank you. But other than that, today's guest, people, was literally talking about him on episode 16 with Dwayne, saying that, you know, he is a huge inspiration in my life as far as music and as far as who he is. And yeah, without further ado, today we have
Chad.
This is Uncle Chad. Again, a person who I've just been watching my entire life, trying to model who I am after him and what he does and how he carries himself. So for the people who don't know you, if you can give like a little background, what you do, who are you, what are you, you know?
Woo. At this point in my life, I'm a husband and father, and creative still. I love the creative, realm or element. That's what I'm about. And then at this point in my life, just living. I'm mid-40s. Y'all would have guessed that or not? I don't know if you would. But yeah, mid-40s. I feel great. Got a lot of good things going on. I mean, yeah.
And that's who he is, people.
That's who I am.
But for those who don't usually tune into the episodes, we do 6 questions. The interviewee has no idea what they are, just to keep the answers organic. So, are you ready, Uncle Chad?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Starting out with question number 1. With you being the middle child of 7 children, talk about your upbringing. What was it like? You got some stories,
Yes.
So however you want to start it.
It was interesting. I think having a big family was great because got to experience so many different things. And being the middle child often is looked at negatively, but it wasn't negative because I've had people before me that I seen do great things and make mistakes and so on. And then I had people after me that I was able to hopefully help do something different or change or model after. But it was fun. I mean, now that I'm at this point in my life, I look back and it was all worth it. Like, meaning we were poor, we were rich in love and fun and all that. And I mean, all the experiences were great. But being the middle child, going back to the question, was great. At first, it was a little, you get kind of lost in the mix. But after a while, you realize you have older brothers and sisters who you can lean on for advice and watch what they do. And then you have younger brothers and sisters who you can help grow. So it was good.
And then what memories or what stories do you have that are still memorable to this day?
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot, but if you could just
a trillion.
Yeah, if you could just put it down to maybe 1 or 2, please share.
Man, stories. My goodness gracious. This is probably a universal story. I'm gonna talk about whoopings.
Okay.
These days it's kind of shunned upon, but please, man, back in the day, Ralph and Chauncey, who obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but who are my brothers, my older brother and younger brother, and Idwan wasn't quite in the picture yet, but he is the youngest. But man, whoopings. It was a whole episode. There was a whole, I don't even know what the word is, tradition to whoopings. She used to line us up, tell us to go get a switch. We used to find the raggediest switches, thinking we would outsmart her. Then she'd be like, "All right, you ain't getting no switch." So then, we get the brown ones that break.
Right.
She'd be like, "No, give me the green one." The green one, those don't, they bend, man. So then, the paddle. But what I remember is, no matter if we got whooped or not, Ralph, he was terrible. It just didn't affect him. So I think, some people maybe need some type of physical, I don't even know what the word is, punishment but it doesn't work for everybody. And Ralph was one of those people. It just didn't work. He'd whoop him. He'd act like he's crying. 10 minutes later, she closed the door. And don't do it again. Ralph. And then we'd be like, y'all in there laughing? No. So we got good at faking everything.
Right.
Nah, mama. That was the best whooping. Lying like, that's the best whooping. That doesn't even make sense. That was the best whooping. But yeah,
oh my gosh.
Even I know that sounds. People probably watching and be like, "Oh, your mom need to go to jail."
Right.
She doesn't. She's a great mom.
Right.
But that was just back in the day. You kind of do what the person prior to you did and whatever you think is right, and she thought that was right. But that's not something I do with my children. But a lot of those are funny. And then other stories, I don't know. I mean, like you said, there's a million stories.
Yeah. Kind of going into because you guys had to transition from Las Vegas to Ohio because you had family down here. Like, what was that transition like, bringing that big family to here, and now you're even expanding more to your family? So
culture shock.
Yeah.
When we first moved to Ohio, I was like, why is she moving us to the country? I was like, these are look. Whoever the audience is, don't take offense, but I thought Ohio was hillbillies. I'm being honest. But now that I'm here, I'm like, these aren't hillbillies at all. Like,
yeah.
And that may be a derogatory term, and I'm not trying to use that. But like, my goodness, my dad. I told a story recently. My dad be like, "You need to wash your clothes." Wash? What is wash?
What is a wash?
Yeah, what is a wash?
What is a wash?
We go into the store. Go ahead, give me a buggy. Buggy? What's a buggy?
What is a buggy? Actually,
a cart.
See, culture shock, people.
That's what I'm saying, culture shock.
I've never heard that in my life.
You get the groceries home, and he says, "Put them in the cupboard." If I knew what a cupboard was, they'd be there. I'm like, cupboard.
Yeah.
So, and that's the cabinets.
Yeah.
And then we talk about all the time soda and pop. I think out here they say pop all the time. You want a pop? Yeah, I want a pop. But out there we said soda. So, just little differences like that. But the transition was, at first, culture shock. Vegas is a fast-moving, everything open 24 hours, high exposure to a lot of things, good and bad. And then Ohio, just, mid. Just in the middle. Just I mean, it's a good place to raise a family, but, that's...
Well, that is news to me, people. That's dope, though, especially with... Like 7 children is just a lot. Not saying that it's like, oh my gosh, she has a lot of children, but like, you guys, I feel like a lot of what happened or what has happened, transitioning into adult life, like we are kind of, or you guys especially, you guys are all you kind of had, in a sense. So like, can you explain the relationships with your brothers and sisters and how that is now, maybe?
Yeah.
Or
growing up with a big family is interesting, just because. As you change and your family grows and people go into different grades and all that type of stuff and different boyfriends and girlfriends and all that, your relationship changes with them. So it's gone from, you're attached to one person. So for the longest time, Chauncey and I were the closest just because we were the youngest and we were not allowed to do a lot of stuff. And then, as you get older, you start being closer to other folks. So, I think I've had my time with each one of my brothers and sisters. But I will say one thing that was super nice and important is we had each other's back. So we could go from fighting at each other or going at each other's neck to the next day, defending each other. I actually was just talking to Ralph recently about in high school. I was a quiet kid in high school just because, it was just my thing. I wasn't Chauncey was like the thug. Ralph was the pretty boy. I was the quiet one. I was the one in the middle. And I had some dudes that tried to bully me one time. In Vegas, they're ruthless. There's gangs, there's all that stuff, but one popular thing, which is terrible, is ripping people's draws. So they literally will walk up to you, they'll get around you, 3 or 4 of them, they'll grab your draws from, inside your pants, grab them, and literally rip them off your body. And then
oh my gosh.
Sometimes display them somewhere. So I remember this. Yes. So I remember this in particular moment where these guys got around me, grabbed my draw. I'm like, this is about to happen. This is about to be rough. They started pulling them up, so I had the wedge going. I'm like, man, all the times I laughed at other people. This karma at its finest.
Right.
So I'm like, this is going to suck. This hurts, And with guys, you have the anatomy that, it starts pulling on stuff, and you're like, this is terrible. Here come Ralph, like Superman and his boys. And I'm like, oh, here we go. So it wasn't like a fight or anything, but they squashed it. They stopped him. And I'm like, whoo. So I was relieved. But unfortunately, they got one of their guys by himself. I won't ever forget, we were in the football field. So they walked him out to the football field and was like, you know, Ralph, you messing with my brother? You know, he was just playing. It didn't look like he was playing. So they ripped his drawers. I mean, so this is the thing, guys. You should probably wear cheaper drawers, being honest, because this dude had on like Hanes Elite, because they didn't rip at first.
Right.
So,
oh no.
Listen,
jeez,
it's
man.
bad, but they had him up in the air and they wouldn't rip, so they was going like this, and this dude was doing this, and his drawers wasn't ripping, and they finally ripped. You know, he's embarrassed and crying and whatever else, and then they threw him on the football field goalpost. I was like,
oh my gosh.
But back then, I'm like, yeah, karma,
right.
caramel.
Right.
But yeah, so we had each other's back. So going back to your question, growing up with a big family was, I mean, sometimes good and bad, because the bad is you pull up to McDonald's, you be like, I want a number one, please. We getting one number one, and everybody getting fried.
One fry, one sip out of the drink.
Yeah, everybody passed the family drink.
Right, that's crazy.
You better not be, you know, somebody that's not homophobic, but whatever that is, germaphobe.
Germaphobe, yeah. Heck yeah. Kind of transitioning to the second question. Yeah, because that was all question number one, kind of. But transitioning to the second question. Question number two. With you being married for 13 years, is that right?
So Gavin's 11, so it'll be 13 this year.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. With you being married for 13 years, which is the longest marriage in our family, what challenges do you face as a husband and as a father? With some of your siblings not being married, do you think your marriage gives them inspiration?
To answer the last part first, depends on your perspective of, you know,
marriage in general,
or relationship. Yeah,
right.
You know, one thing that's interesting about people is we all have our own perspective on everything. So some people might be like, I ain't never get married, which I thought that at one point, and they think it's that bad or negative. And then some people are like, that's what I long for is marriage. But so it just depends on I can't really answer that for them, but hopefully. And
then to before you go to the front part, what about your marriage do you feel, if it does give inspiration, what inspiration do you think, or what type of inspiration?
Yeah.
Do you think that, you know, they receive from that?
So the interesting thing about marriage for me is two people becoming one in a sense. And I mean, obviously we're both still individuals, but to marry, I mean, literal marry, the way you act and, you know, everything you do in life is now surrounded around another person. And if not, it's probably not going to last that long. And what I mean by that is, you know, you wake up a certain time and it affects them. You go to sleep, you work, you don't. You're in a bad mood, you fart, you know what I mean? Like, so marriage is very interesting, and the longer you're with someone, the more language is everything you do. Like, and I mean, you know, I can look at her a certain way and she knows we're in danger, or we're not, or I'm mad, or she's mad, or, you know, the kids need to be talked to. That's just interesting. So I think it's one of the greatest things in my life ever, is marriage. But then, what was the first part of it?
Yeah, so the first part was like what challenges do you face as a husband and then as a father? Oh,
so then, you know, just going back into that point, trying to marry your life into someone else's, if you don't, you know, court before you're married or ask questions, you just need to. Because if you're looking at someone, you're like, ooh, she thickums.
Right.
I'm marrying that.
Right.
And then you get to move in with her. And, you know,
she's dirty.
She has a beauty thing.
Yeah.
She farts in the bed and puts your head nose. You know what I mean? Just crazy stuff. Like, you know, especially someone like me who can be particular about some things. Man, ask questions before you get married. But challenges is just that, learning someone and their habits, and as they change and grow and adapting, and then being, what's the word I'm looking for? You got to be flexible and giving. I mean, we've all watched and read things about marriage and how to do good and bad, and I think one challenge for guys or men is trying to be that provider and that number one, and that's how we were taught, but that's not necessarily what you need to be. Like, when you're down, she can help pick you up. When she's down, you can help pick her up. You don't need to be the man with your chest pushed out, walking in front. I'm the man. I need to do everything. I mean, you can live life like that. That's great. It's your opinion. But I find that when you share, a lot of the responsibilities, it works out a lot better.
Yeah, and like so 2 points on that. As far as the sharing, like that's something that you kind of have had to do because you are the middle child. So it's like, like when you said you take stuff from the older people, but you also have to give it to the younger, to your younger brothers and sisters. That's something that's something that has kind of been implemented in you like your entire life. It's like, kind of being a mediator, maybe in a sense, with sharing and all that stuff too. And I think going back to when you said, what did you say? Sharing, and then, dang, what'd you say before
that? Compromise, flexibility.
I think it was flexibility.
Learning each other, knowing each other.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. So kind of like really understanding how your mother and father is, like, is that something? Okay, so like seeing how they were, did you take some stuff from them and kind of use it into your marriage now, or like was that something that you didn't take at all?
I think to say I didn't take anything from it would be not necessarily the truth. Just because I think life is a part of life is just little tidbits of everything you see, do, smell, feel. It's like that's what life is. So to say I didn't take anything would not be the truth for me, because it could be one of the hot things right now is unconscious bias, and I bring that up because there's a lot of unconscious things that you pick up or do because you've seen it, and I think you talked about this on several episodes where you see something and you may not even know why you're doing it, but you've seen it and your brain retains it and you do it. So yeah, there's things I'm sure I picked up from my parents. Do I remember a lot about their marriage? Not really. Most of it is in videos or pictures or stories.
Can I ask why?
Because I was younger. To be honest, like my brain works really odd when it comes to me being younger. I don't remember a lot about in general, just a lot about my childhood in general, unless someone says something. Then I can remember something very specific. So it's just weird, and I don't know if that's a block or what. But that's with everything in life. Like I just don't remember things unless it's someone's like, "Hey, what about this?" And then I can tell you all about it. So I don't know, but what happened with them and to them, probably I don't know if it needed to or should have, but yeah. My goal in marriage is not to, we talked about me being 13 years and longer than anyone in the family. It wasn't about the longevity, just truly finding happiness, being with someone I want to be with. Like, I don't even care about the number. If I hated who I was with, then, maybe we wouldn't be together, but I don't. I love her. She's a great person. If you guys don't know who she is, if you know me, you do know who she is. But, yeah, I'm happy.
That is a wonderful answer. And then, so you kind of explained what challenges you face as a husband. Now as a father, what challenges do you face? And like obviously, there's going to be a lot because they're children. They're growing up. Oh, yeah. Now they're transitioning, or they're going to be transitioning into being teenagers. Like, and you were once there, so like,
my goodness gracious.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you had to watch your younger siblings grow up. You had to watch your older siblings grow up. So like, how do you take all that in? Now being a dad, how do you balance that? How do you, what's your challenges? All that stuff.
A lot of what I've gone through and what people go through in general is just, I don't want to say guessing, but some of it is, and new experiences. Like, man, I will never forget when we brought Gavin home, who's my oldest child, son. You can watch all of it. We went through classes and all that, but none of it can prepare you for a human that came out of another human that you now have responsibility over. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. And as they grow up and start changing and doing stuff, your brain as a parent is always going and moving, because especially working in the public like I do, I put out the flyers of missing children, and you see stuff on the news. So that kind of ties into, I don't think in general I'm a fearful person. I'm not trying to get off subject, but I don't think I'm a fearful person in general, but one of my fears is things that could happen to my children. So I always pray about that, and hopefully, if anything were to happen, I know I have the belief, and I know we've instilled some good morals into them. So, but going back into the question, it's not every day, but a lot of it is, just trying to adapt, because they're their own people, and they are, man, like, they start developing and doing things, and you're like, what in the heck? And then you see yourself in them sometimes, and then other times you're like, who's that? I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But it is so rewarding in so many ways, and I've said this many times, and people may object and say whatever, but I think kids are the most pure and intelligent beings on this planet, by far. The older you get, I think the dumber we get, even though that may be contradictory, because you're like, oh, your brain, they can't drive.
It evolves, is it?
Yeah. Evolved. They can't go to the store and use a credit card. Who cares? Like, I'm talking about, like, actual natural things. The genuineness of kids is just extraordinary. The fun. So, to be childlike is just amazing.
Going into question number 3. You are my biggest inspiration when it comes to music. Your creative process, how you view it, how you play, how you listen. Do you still take time to play music?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how's that process with you, and like how you balance it with, being a husband, father?
Yes. It's a little bit of a challenge sometimes, but I will say, and just like most things in life, you have highs and lows, but my thinking with music now has evolved so much more past the way I used to think about music. So when I first started music, so it's a quick story. Your mom was the first person to buy, I think she bought me a keyboard. I think she's the one that bought me the keyboard.
The Roland or the one before that one?
It was like a Casio or
something. Oh, so one of your first ones?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it was her. I can't quite remember, but I remember having this keyboard, and, at first I probably sat under a bed thinking, I'm not doing anything with this, but then just starting to mess with it and making sounds and stuff. And it's funny because that's kind of how you started as well, just getting a keyboard, making sounds and so on. And then, being inspired by people you see on TV, Michael Jackson and those folks that, when I grew up, all those guys were hot, and all the female artists as well. And then you start thinking about music in a different way and how it makes you feel, and you dance and doing all kinds of stuff. But as I'm getting older, man, music is, I love it so much. One of the biggest loves of my life by far. But what's interesting about music is it's not just like a sound of a keyboard or piano or drums or violin. Music is everything. And what I mean by that is, when you were talking to Joshua in his interview, he talked about the feeling of how you feel can be in your cooking.
The energy process.
Yeah, the energy. And that's the same with music. So, it's funny about perception or your opinion on stuff, but sometimes you take whatever you can out of music, and again, mine has evolved where, right now my music, me listening to music is everywhere. Anything from metal to classical to R&B to rap. But back to me and music, yes, I do make time for it. But what I mean by music is everything is, I told you we just went to the ocean recently. Mm-hmm. Standing in the ocean and hearing the waves crash is musical. One of the most soothing things I've ever been. Like I told you, I had my arms on. I was straight Titanic in that mug. It was, my goodness.
Yeah.
Sitting on the front porch and hearing the birds. We have a fire pit table on the front porch. Hearing the crackle of the flames, it can be musical, and I understand probably the actual definition of music is probably not those things, but I just mean that's how much music means to me. I hear it in everything. So I do take time to actually physically play the piano. And for years when my kids were young, I used to play them to sleep. And I'm down here and they'd be upstairs and be like, where's my round of applause? And they'd be clapping, hear their little hands clapping. And then when I stopped hearing their hands clap, I knew they were asleep. But music is a huge part of my life. I love it. I always will love it. I'm amazed by how much you've evolved in music. again, when I was growing up, I was inspired by people, but these days I'm inspired by so much more, and you're one of them as well. So it's funny how life, you talk about the circle of life.
Circle
Lion
of life.
You talk about the circle of life. My goodness gracious. Some of the stuff I've heard you play literally touches my heart. So I love it. I'll never stray away from it, but then it's also my therapy. So, yeah.
And do you plan on ever putting out stuff or performing again, or like?
Yes.
Yeah. So
the answer is yes.
Talk about that. I don't know what your plans are.
So again, inspiration is coming from a lot of different places. You being one of them with what you're doing now on YouTube, and you know what the other platforms you're on, doing your thing. You know, working a 9 to 5 is okay. It provides. Is there anything wrong with it? Nope. Just if that's what you want to do, great. That's what I'm doing. This is the time of my life. But do I want to do something in music? Absolutely. Will I put out something eventually? Absolutely. When I was younger, I thought, I got to get things copyrighted. No one's stealing my music. But here's the thing about it. If someone did steal whatever song you did and did it identical to you, it's still unique to you. Like, you know, it's happening in the world, in the industry, but they'll never be able to do it exactly like you did it. So copywriting and all that stuff, yeah, it maybe needs to be protected, maybe for financial and legal reasons, but I am gonna put out something. When? I don't know. It's gonna happen.
And who are your inspirations when it comes to music? Like growing up, I should say, because you're how unorthodox it is from the different instruments added to the bass, especially.
Yeah.
Who are your inspirations? I've never known this.
So many people. I mentioned Michael Jackson and Prince, and but like Tony Braxton. I'm trying to think of some rappers. LL Cool J. Like, I'm dating myself, but that's fine. I don't care. But so, I mean, I can't even. I'm not good with listing people and their names, but so many people. Outkast. I'm just trying to think of people in seasons I had. Mace. All kinds of people. And then, not to leave out any of the church or Christian stuff, but, you know, John P. Key and I don't even know. There's so many people.
Yeah,
so
and kind of seeing how music is universal. I think that's one thing that is really cool about just the world in general, because, you know, although we may be going through everything, one thing that is a universal language is music. And I think that people kind of have to not kind of have to understand, but the more we see how music affects people and how it moves and how it changes lives and all that stuff, I feel like we would slowly be getting to an area of peace maybe in the world. And like, because like one thing I do often that I'm still doing currently is listening to your old CDs, and it's like, how in the heck were you listening? Not even listening. How were you creating this? Like, how did it even come to your head? How did blah 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 blah? But it's something that I've have studied like homework, because like, I don't understand. Like, I understand that it's music, you know, that you can move to it, you know. But how it's created, I'm like, how'd you even think about that? How'd you put that stuff there? How'd you know what I'm saying? So I think that's something I've always appreciated, is like, you were the first person I've seen be unorthodox in music. A lot of people are standard. Not saying that that's a bad thing either, but the being unorthodox in music is so unique, because now you're able to use it in so many I'll just say ways, so many ways, because, you know, now you're not really stuck into, okay, I have to do just hip hop, I have to do just classical. Now we can do death metal, like you said, we can do jazz, we can do. So I think that's something that is very cool that you do, and I hope that you put out something, and I hope that you play it live with a band.
Oh, it would be amazing.
So yeah, I guess tune in on that whenever that comes out, people.
Pause it right here.
Going into question number 4. Jack of all trades, master of none is what you are.
Yes.
Knowing you always have to be doing something to make your day fulfilled. When was the last time you took the time for yourself?
Every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, you think, or I used to think, taking time for yourself was, you know, leaving your family, walking out on the beach by yourself. with your shoes off and no shirt. Yeah, by myself. Right. That ain't it. As you get older and you're married and you have kids, taking time for yourself. And I'm not great at it still, but I'm learning to balance it. But sometimes it's literally driving from here to work, taking that time, putting on, a song that maybe necessarily people don't want to hear in the house, and just jamming to it, and then repeat it, and then repeat it, and then repeat it. And then I'm in this zone where, nothing even matters. It's like, it's all good. Doesn't even matter. When you first get in the car, you're like, dang, I gotta go to work.
right.
The kids gotta go to school, stressing about stuff. But yeah, every day I take at least some time to myself, and it just looks different day to day. It's not the same thing. I don't have necessarily a routine. I've learned to just sit on the porch and be with the fire. Sometimes I walk, sometimes I run, sometimes I'll shoot basketball outside by myself. So it just looks different from day to day. But also I've learned to appreciate those moments. Even though sometimes small can be big. And I know people are like, small can't be big.
right.
Why'd you say that?
No, yeah.
But those small moments are usually the most impactful, some of the best moments.
No, and I think that's very important, just because a lot of people, especially family men, family women, they don't really take the time for themselves, and they get to a place in their life where it's like a midlife crisis, like what am I going to do? I'm stressed about everything, blah 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 blah. But I think people really do have to find inner peace and eternal or internal happiness, just because not everything that's in your life can make you happy. Well, what about when you are at work or driving to work, or when you're by yourself, how do you view yourself? And I think that's something that people should practice more, just really finding ways to make your day or make your life be more fulfilling to yourself. So that's actually funny, because I thought that you were going to have a more detailed answer. Not saying that wasn't detailed, but because of, again, perception, I was like, man, it really doesn't look like he takes time to himself. But that's wonderful to know, by the way. So I just want you to know that.
No, thank you. But then also, you talk about jack of all trades. So staying busy for me is just something I like to do in general, and I think about staying busy differently as well. So I try to be fit in my life in general, and back in the day, me, Ralph, Chauncey, you, Joshua, all of us used to play basketball. I Jawan, all day.
12 hours. 15 hours, no lie.
Yeah, so then how does your body adjust to that when you do go to work and stuff? So I'm active because I actually like being active. I'm not necessarily the type of person just to sit and chill and do nothing. Occasionally, yes. But I actually like being active. That's just part of my personality. So I just wanted to state that I'm active because I want to be. I don't necessarily have to be all the time. But then I also have a supportive wife who allows me to do that. And same for me and her, or for her, is when she needs time, and she's actually about to go on a women's trip here soon. And, all good. Take your time. Do what you got to do.
He's answering these questions, people. I ain't gonna lie. These are phenomenal answers. Going into question number 5, we both have expressed life outside of jobbing and working for other people. Knowing that you had to provide for your family, if you could do something full time and get paid to do it, what would that be?
Great question. There's lots of things I imagine. I have a very, 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 very active imagination. So the sky's the limit. But as I get older, I keep using that because life changes and shifts. And as you get older and you get new experiences, your perspective changes, and children and all that. Right now, I don't want to say I'm good where I'm at just because I'm trying to say that. But I'm good where I'm at because I'm in a good place. So my job, even though, I work however many hours a week, is the smallest part of my life. Literally. Even though you think about it time-wise, it takes up a lot of time. But, again, the smaller things, the waking up with the kids and getting them to school, that's the bigger part. But then to go into the question, what would I be doing? I don't know. It would be so random. And what I mean by that is, there might be a physical building involved, but the person would walk in and be like, what are you selling? What are you doing?
What are you selling?
I'd be working on the dresser and playing the piano at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then painting something with my foot.
Right.
I don't even know what it really looks like. Go back to the jack of all trades. I try to be open to things now, and what I mean by that is, when we were younger, I just think about this. We used to play basketball all the time, Troy, and then a truck full of guys would pull up and would be like, "Oh, it's time to ball," and they'd have a disc in their hand to play disc golf. And I'm like, these sons of guns, these busters,
right,
judging immediately. These busters. But then, once I got into disc golf, I'm like, this is one of the most amazing sports I've ever played. Like, it's fantastic. But to tie that into the question, I don't really know what it looks like because there's so many things I could do or can do. And then I do understand the sky's the limit. Like, I don't know if I truly believe it, like, down in my heart to the core, but I do understand intellectually that you could do anything you want. Like, anything. You talk about the people that's the biggest in the world, Elon Musk and those people. People judge success by, oh, he has a lot of money. Is that really what you want? If so, great, do it. But the people that are truly happy, what are they doing? And I don't know. So, could I work a regular job the rest of my life and be happy? Absolutely. For sure. No question. What do I want to do? I don't know. There's a lot of things. My wife and I have a furniture business, you know. I've done some construction. You know, we've done a lot of our house on our own. My dad was in construction for many years, so it could be that. Could it be music? Absolutely. I don't know that I actually want to be an actual performer. Maybe. I don't know. I've thought about it. But I don't know. I don't know what that really looks like. So each day as my life changes and my kids change and my wife changes, I think about those things, and then sometimes doors open. Like, we're looking into a couple ventures right now that are just like, man, you know, we've always talked about this, but now it's starting to come to fruition. So,
and how do you kind of take all that in? Because it's like, you know, since you do a lot of things, like, how do you manage
or balance it?
Yeah.
Again, things comes in waves. They're at highs and lows. So at one point when you're super focused on your job and you're trying to get promoted, you know, that might be the high. And then, you know, at another point when your marriage is struggling and you're not seeing eye to eye, that might be your low. Or then you shift it and you say, you know what, I'm gonna go to work, but I'm not necessarily gonna be present. I'm gonna be thinking about how I'm gonna make my marriage work. Which I was in that spot one point in my life. You manage it day by day, situation by situation, and sometimes by, you know, the immediate or the priority. What's the priority at the moment? So, like, you talk about what do you want to do in your life? If something happened to my job today and they're like, Chad, you're fired. You're fired. You know, I'd be like, at first, and I've been fired before a couple times, and at first it hurts your ego. You're like, man, dang, what did I do? But then after you really internalize it and think about it, you're like, I probably wanted to be fired, to be honest, and I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. So I don't know what that looks like. I don't.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because I'm the same way. Like, even though I think I know what I want to do, but then it does change every day, because like something that I've been like super afraid of is losing music, and that's something that I guess I felt like that happened to you sometimes, because it's like although you did become a husband and father, I'm like, man, I never want him to lose music, because, you know, you're a huge inspiration to me.
Yeah.
So, but then kind of doing, you know, more like the video podcast stuff, I'm like, music is really not my focus right now.
That's the thing.
Which is okay, but it's like, you know, at least it's still there. But
is music what you want to do because of you or because of someone else? Why I say that is, you know, as I'm starting to develop and make music back in the day when I was at, you know, the highest point, people are like, man, you are an entertainer, you need to be in music. And so then you start to believe, you know, everything. You're like, oh yeah,
expectations of other people.
That is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that is.
Yeah.
And then you start to listen to yourself, and you're like, maybe that isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. So you have to determine that for yourself and really, you know, talk to yourself. Like, when you see someone on the street talking to themselves, you be like, oh, bro, crazy.
He crazy.
Not necessarily. He's probably the smartest person alive. Because because he's talking to himself, and you're like, but he's homeless and he's asking for food and eating food off the ground. If he's happy
about it.
Exactly. But so when you talk about music, I mean, I could say those things about you, like, man, you're phenomenal in music, phenomenal, and your podcast and I mean, all the things you do, I could say you should do this, and then it starts becoming a reality to you, and you're like, oh, that is what I'm supposed to do, but you don't know.
That gives me a lot to think about. Wow. We're just going to transition to question number 6. Final question. What do you hope to accomplish this year, and or what's something you need to complete that you haven't completed?
Ooh, accomplish this year, lots of different things. We're working on the house. Get a lot. I mean, that's an ongoing process, but we got a couple major projects. Get those things done. I definitely want to start some type of social media, something, YouTube, somewhere. You know, I don't know what it's going to be, but I hope it consists of a lot of different things: music, laughter. Because by nature, I like to laugh and be funny. So I hope to start some type of channel with your help. I'm not ignorant to technology, but there's a lot of things I'm sure I need to just, brush up on. And then accomplish, I don't know. There's, a list of things. Financially, just, I think we're in a good place right now, but always looking for the next, my wife and I just talked about it recently, just being in that place where I don't want to be like filthy rich but just a place that I don't have to
you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Cause it's really not even a thing, but society made it a thing. So that's why.
Yeah.
But, and then going to, what's something that you need to complete that you haven't?
Need to complete that I haven't. I'm sure there's many, many things, but, need to complete that I haven't. Honestly, some of it's music. When I start thinking back, like you said, I start thinking back or play a CD or something I wrote, I'm like, what the hell? Where was I at when I wrote that? What in the world? So complete. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's not, but getting something done and getting it out there in some way, whatever form that is. I just talked to you, before we got started about a commercial, something, just, using it, and not necessarily to become rich or make money, but just just to share it.
Yeah, just an outlet. And I think especially if you are in a creative space, like if you're creating something, it's not just for you, people. Yeah. And there are things that are for you, but I always tell people, like, one of the biggest things in life is impact and influence. Someone wants to hear us, someone wants to hear you, someone wants to hear his children, his wife. Like, people want to hear each other, because that's the only way we're able to evolve as people, is understand and walk in other people's shoes, and then kind of take what they're using, what they're saying, and adapt it to our life. So I encourage you, and I will help you on you wanting to build your socials, your socials. Because people do need to see you. They need to experience who you are, and they need to listen to what you're doing. And especially because you're a jack of all trades. One day you could be doing a vlog about, this is how I play the piano, this is how I do it. Next day is, okay, we're about to build this dresser. Here's the day with my kids. Here's, what I'm saying? So it's like, people need to see your story. So that is all the questions that I have today. This is the segment where I give people a time to ask me one question and one question only. So if you have a question prepared, great. If you don't, take your time.
I'm gonna flip the last question to you. So what do you feel like your goals are this year? What do you want to accomplish? And something that is unfinished for you, what does that look like for you?
Jeez. Okay, so accomplish this year, I would like to accomplish. Okay, that's a tough one. Something I want to accomplish this year is being more consistent on playing music. Just because recently I haven't, because of this stuff, and it is very hard, people, because again I always talk about like editing times, exporting times, uploading times. Like if I'm working that day, my day is gone. I really don't have any time. And then, when I come back from work, I have to edit that night too. So it's like, that's something I want to really accomplish this year, is finding more time for music, because like I recently just picked up again my guitar, and like, you know, that's starting to be natural with me now. So I'm just like, wow, like I should have been, but then, you know, I don't want to put limits on myself. But yeah, just taking the time to create more music and evolve how I'm looking at music, because I've only played one way my entire life. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but I feel like if I were to learn more scales, more whatever, like it'll really, you know, expand how I think about music. That's something I want to accomplish. Something that I haven't finished or created or completed, I'm sorry, is music with the family. I'm supposed to have 2 projects coming out this year, fully produced by myself, and that's my sister and my friend Davion.
Check it out.
So that's coming out. That's coming out this year. But as far as completion, I really want to take all the music catalogs that my family has and just put it out. And not saying that that's something that have a fear of, but that's something that does weigh on my heart heavy. It is just because like we're so talented in what we do and how we do things. I want the world to hear it, and I want to perform it one time only. So buy your tickets, people. Coming soon. But seriously, I feel like that'll be a weight off of all of our shoulders, because like we know how life gets busy, and you know, with all of our immediate families, internal families, you know, we're busy, and that's completely fine. But I do want to complete that with the family, and then I want to get better with production, as far as like editing and, you know, different whatevers, just so I can just get better. I really like challenging myself in different things, and yeah, I feel like that's it. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully
that's awesome.
That completes your or answers your question.
It does.
But that is all the questions that we had today, people. It has been another episode 19 with Uncle Chad. Do you have anything else you want to say before you get off? Any remarks or anything?
Just I mean, I know you guys are watching Zion evolve and change and grow, but seeing him as a baby all the way till now is remarkable. Like, and I don't think, you know, this gives you justice on how talented you are as a person. And, you know, sometimes I'll text you, but the last text I remember saying about your name, Noiz.I, it's amazing, because I think you are making a noise in a good way, like that everyone can hear. And I think if you stay consistent and you focus on your goals, and if you want it, it will be. So whatever you want in life will be if you want it. And it's not a matter of building your skills or being the most tech savvy. People are going to see who you are genuinely and like you because of that, because you're a good person. So if you want it, you'll have it. That's literally what I think. So I just think do it. Whatever it is.
I'm not sure how to take that in, but I'm not going to cry, guys. But it has been another great episode. Episode 19 with Uncle Chad. It is Noiz.I and Uncle Chad, and we are out.
Just like being on the same page is just will take you anywhere you want to go. And it might, you know, communicating exactly how you feel may steer people away from you. But it's like, I think that if someone exits your life, you know, just because of something you said, they weren't meant to be in your life too.